Hello! So today we're going to be turning this little tiny 3D printed head into a little tiny BJD head. So this is of course the same face that I use in my larger art pieces. I've just had it printed at a super small size, and then I've done a bunch of sanding and carving and made it into a ball jointed doll head. And it's pretty rough. So it's part 3D printed, part epoxy clay. It's a bit of a Frankenstein. It's not very well done, and I do want to remake it. So I'm going to go back into ZBrush and I'm probably just going to sculpt it again. And this time I'm going to actually build in all the pieces that I want. And I think instead of a head cap, I'm going to actually add a faceplate. So that's the plan. But for right now, with this one, I thought, well, let's just paint it and move on. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be taking this minor disaster and painting it up and moving on. So the first thing I have to do is base coat her in a nice stark bright white. And I think I just used a Mr. Surfacer. And then after that, I tried to match her to the body that I was planning to use. And as you can see here, the color matches mostly. It's not a dead-on match, but it's close enough. And then after that, I went ahead and I added some of the base tones. So I added some blue around the eyes and a little bit of pink on the cheeks, just to sort of give the base tone a little variation. In the first part of a face painting, I usually go in and get all of the hard lines defined. So I'll do eyelid lines, I'll do eyelashes, eyebrow hairs, all that sort of stuff. Anything that's going to just be very hard and harsh looking. Because then after that, I go in with the pastels and I soften how everything looks. blushing stage, and this is where I start to soften all of those hard lines that I've added in. And the reason I do it in what seems like a backwards way is because if I make any mistakes with those hard lines, it's a lot easier to wipe them off and start again, rather than if I spend 3 hours getting all the blushing on and then add lines on top of it and then mess up the lines and then I have to start again, but then I have to do blushing as well. So I find it a lot less stressful to do all the hard lines first and then soften it afterwards. So these little white highlights are the only hard lines I add on after I've done everything else. As you can imagine, the highlights go on at the end. So now let's go ahead and gloss her up. There's nothing particularly special about the gloss that I use. It's just a Tamiya X22. This is just what I have, and it's just the brand that I keep buying. So these eyelashes I bought, I think, off eBay. I don't remember the store. I typically buy stuff in bulk and then I don't buy it again for quite a long time. So I don't remember what the store is. I did have a look on eBay, but I can't seem to find the store that I got them from, so I don't think they're on there anymore. So unfortunately, if you want these eyelashes, it's a case of you're going to have to hunt around and see what you can find. And I'm just putting them in with a regular Elmer's glue or just a standard PVA glue, nothing fancy. And here I thought it'd be fun to show a size comparison of the tiny little BJD head and my original bunny mask sculpture. So as you can see, she's slightly smaller than the bunny sculpture, and the bunny sculpture is already quite small. And that's the original master copy bunny as well. So that's why it looks really terrible. For the eyes, I used 10mm glass eyes. I think these originally came from a store called Saffron Doll, and I had a look to add a link to them, but I can't find them, so I don't think they're operating anymore. Unfortunately, again, this is going to be a situation where you're going to have to find eyes from somewhere else, I guess, as I bought these quite a long time ago. So I use Poster Tack to add eyes into dolls. I find it works really well. I know a lot of people like using things like silly putty or silicone earplugs, but I find that Poster Tack just comes out really easily. So when I used to take doll commissions, people would send their dolls, and a lot of time they would have all kinds of gross stuff stuck in the back of the head, and it would be weird sticky things that I would have to like clean out and scrape out, and I've never had that problem with Poster Tack. Poster Tack just comes straight out. This is the body that I ended up putting her on. It's an Obitsu body, Obitsu 24, because I believe it's 24 centimeters tall. It's a small vinyl body. It's got great articulation, it's lightweight, it poses very well. She wasn't supposed to go on this body. She was originally sized to fit on a Fairyland Realfie, but I just didn't think that'd be practical in the long run. So, we stuck with the Obitsu. So she comes with this little plastic neck piece, which I take off, and then I just add a screw of my own. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the head onto this section underneath the screw, and then I'm going to use a small round tab to help hold the head in place. Now, as you can see, her head does not fit this body very well, because like I said before, it was sized to fit a Fairyland Realfie body, not this one. This is sort of just a stand-in. I like the body, I think it poses very nicely. Ideally, I would like a thicker, chunkier body for her to be on, or I would have to make the head smaller. But for now, just to get her a body and have her sort of completed, this is what I went with. This is just a piece of foam, and I'm just cutting it into a small circle and stabbing a hole through the center. This is all very sort of, you know, kit bashy kind of stuff right now. You can buy from doll stores things called kips, which are small round silicone washers, and they work really well. I didn't have any, so I've cut a small piece of plastic just out of the bottom of a container, and then I've also used that sponge, and I just screwed it all together and it just holds on. It's not ideal, but it works. It keeps the head on. So at this point, I started thinking she needed some hair. So I very quickly put together a wig. And when I say very quickly, I mean very, very quickly. I made a wig cap, which is just out of paper towels and PVA glue. and I let that dry and harden, and I cut that to shape. And then I just cut little pieces of mohair, which is just like an alpaca type of hair, and glued that on. Because this was done so fast and furiously, I did not paint the wig cap, which I should have. I should have painted it a nice orange color so that the white paper towels didn't shine through, but I just wanted to get it done, and I forgot that that was a thing I was going to do, so it is what it is. It's just a crappy wig, but you know, she's not bald, so that's fine. So usually doing this, you would really want to make wefts first, but I didn't do that. I just took the hair and held it on and pasted it in place. This wig is basically horrendous, but you know, it's fine. It's just for me. So to hold the wig in place, I just use some poster tack, and I'm putting that on the back of her head cap and not on her actual face, just in case it does have any residues or oils. Now, if you had painted your wig cap like I should have, then it would be much more camouflaged. Overall, it's a terrible wig, and I'm going to have to get a new one, but for now it'll do. And I played around with it a bit. I gave her pigtails, and I didn't really like that, and then I gave her plaits, and I didn't really like that, and then in the end I eventually just cut all her hair off and gave her a bob. So one of these days I will sit down and actually make a proper wig, but that day is not today. I'm really glad to finally have her finished. She's been sitting in my drawer unpainted for way too long. And if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Bye.